37. Chapter 37, it's all up to us. Our actions, our divine service, is going to change the world for good. Really, that's what it's all about. And we'll tie this in with Corona afterwards. What we explained previously, we have a godly soul, and we have a body and a animal/vital soul that the godly soul vests itself within. The godly soul only wants to do good, only wants to do godly things. Connect to God Almighty. Only do good in this world. The animal soul is self-directed. It only wants to fulfill itself, whether it's in physical pleasures, even spiritual pleasures. But it's the pleasure thereof that it wants to engage in because it feels good. It wants it because it makes me feel good. Whatever it is. So some people want a candy to make them feel good. Another person wants a car that makes them feel good. Another person wants music. Another person wants even Tanya. Could come from that. Godly soul, though, doesn't want self-help so I could feel good about myself and feel better and have a better life. It wants to do the right thing, the godly thing, for God's sake, because that's the nature of the soul. It wants to connect. So, this soul doesn't need any fixing. So why does it come down here? What does a godly soul come into this world to be vested into a body and an animal soul? Why? In order to help the animal soul. The animal soul that is self-directed. Self-directed doesn't mean it's doing terrible things. It could be wonderful things, but it's, in the end, it's all about me. It's not about my divine service. It's not about my connection to God. It's not about what I'm needed for. It's what I need. Now, again, some people need a candy. Some people need a car. Some people need to do good. They need to do good because it makes them feel good, and that's what motivates them, right? That's the distinction over here that we're making, and very clear we need to appreciate. That can come from a self-directed animal soul because it's got some good in it, and that's okay. But that's not what Tanya is here to teach us. Tanya is here to teach us that we can be directed by a godly soul that doesn't need fixing, doesn't need, it's perfect in and of its own because it's a part of God. And all it needs to do is inspire the animal soul that it too can engage in doing the mitzvah, because that's what it's all about. That it too can engage in divine service because, that's what it's all about. Now, where is that divine service of in this world to transform my animal soul? Where am I going to transform my animal soul and the physical world at the same time in the greatest way? You might think prayer. You might think Torah study like we're doing now. Right? Actually not. Where is my animal soul most invested? Is in me. And by extension of me, money. That's where we're most invested. That's where we spend most of our days, even though now we don't. Right? We're quarantined, so we don't. But yet, where do we spend most of our days to make $1? Or, here's a nickel, sorry. Difficult times. That's what we vested ourselves in more, in the most, right? And with this, we can now, let's understand that our sages have extolled the virtue of giving charity, declared it equal to all of the other mitzvahs. Let's understand, why would that be? So much so that in the Jerusalem Talmud, when it speaks about mitzvah stam, just like it says the word mitzvah, you know what the reference is? Charity, tzedakah. It surpasses all of them. Why? Well, we just explained that the whole purpose of the mitzvah is not about my godly soul. It doesn't need the mitzvah. It doesn't need fixing. What needs fixing is my animal soul. So where's my animal soul most invested? In self-directed things, which would be, right, my money, my things. Furthermore, where do I, as I mentioned previously, where do you put your effort most of the day? Again, I don't know if today's a good example, but right, we spend 8 hours supposedly working to make $1, right? Which is fine. We need to do that. That's nothing wrong with that. But means I've invested so much of my energy, so much of my being into my livelihood that when I give away a part of it, I give away some of that money, I've given away my life that I've invested in. That's powerful. As opposed to when I'm putting on tefillin, wrapping, how much investment of my animal soul is involved in that? Well, just wrapping, can even do it mindlessly sometimes, right? The point is that every mitzvah that we engage in, there's only a part of my animal soul that's engaged in doing the mitzvah, right? If you're walking to synagogue on Shabbos, so your feet are engaged in that mitzvah of walking to synagogue. If you're going to the hospital, which today you can't probably go visit in the hospital, when you do go visit someone who's sick, you can't do that now. Or someone that passes away, you can't even go to a shiva now. But, the mitzvah of using your feet, how much of you is invested in the effort of your animal soul to give vitality to your body to fulfill that mitzvah? Minimal amount. Now, maybe psychological, emotionally, that's a different issue, that we're not talking, But how much is invested in you and making it and working to make your money, to make your livelihood? Especially if back in the day you were a farmer, or even if today you work vigorously with your physical being to make your livelihood, right? So, a plumber has to work physically, right? It's all engaging of the entire being to do that work. Your mind, your hands, your feet, everything, right? Your whole body, and a full day. And now you give away some of that money that your animal soul was engaged to make that money. That's amazing. Now the Alter Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe goes further. The Alter Rebbe goes further and says, what if you have lots of money from an inheritance, or you won a lottery, or you, some work that is done is, you bought some stocks and you made a lot of money. Now you lost, but, you bought cheap and you made a lot. So there wasn't such an effort, right? So the Alter Rebbe says, yeah, but with that money, you could buy things for your life that gives life to you, to your physical being, right? You could buy a better slice of bread. You could buy a better coat to wear because you got more money. And now you gave away some of it to charity? Wow. In other words, since the whole point of a mitzvah is not for the godly soul, but for the animal soul to transform it, where is a greater transformation taking place than in the mitzvah of giving charity? Nowhere. That's how huge it is. With this, then, we can understand why our sages say that charity hastens the messianic redemption, because it is the ultimate mitzvah of being charitable. And one act of charity elevates a great deal of the vital soul and all the faculties that are involved in the powers of the soul more than any other mitzvah. And that's why, combined to all other mitzvahs, it is greater, powerful. So how this fits in with our situation is quite clear, I think. The connection to what's going on to coronavirus is quite clear. We've spoken, and I'll say again, that God animates everything in this world. Nothing happens without his will. A leaf from the tree that falls, and not just the fact that it fell off the tree, but the way it swirls is all divinely orchestrated. But that all comes from the outer will of God. That's not what he really wants. It's only a means to an end. So coronavirus comes from God. He's allowing it to be. He's giving it vitality, as we mentioned in yesterday's classes, or the day before actually. 3 forms of vitality, and everything comes from God. All the vitality. So the fact that it exists is the fact that it comes, God giving it existence. But why? What is the inner reason? We explained is for the mitzvah. That we should come to the inner will of God, that is an end in itself. So the outer will is in order to bring us to the inner will, and the inner will is a connection with God through mitzvah. And what is the ultimate mitzvah? Charity, as we've just explained. Because charity truly transforms me, my animal soul and body. And boy, what a time is this that we need this. Think about it. What a time. What a time that we need this. Where our physical bodies are being attacked with the outer will of God. So we need to engage in the inner will of God to fight back. Because that's ultimately what he wants. Through mitzvah, through connection to God. And what is the greatest connection? That I give away my money. And giving it away, charitable giving, tzedakah, engages my entire being. It could be I could buy my needs to feed me physically and in whatever way, and all my physical needs, and yet I give it. That's truly transforming the animal soul. That's truly transforming me, the person. Powerful. So, what do we need to do? Give tzedakah. Give charity. If you have a pushka at home, charity box, take, put in, and constantly be giving. If you have your favorite charity, call them up. They're hurting now. Everybody's hurting now. And actually now to give when all of us are hurting is even a greater mitzvah. Because our means are less. Because if you had stocks, they went down. Some people aren't working. Some of you aren't working. So it means you have less. But that's truly taking it to another level. It's such a trust in God that we can still give. Give to Chabad, of course. Chabad.org. And I thank those who have given to the causes I'm involved in. God bless you. But wherever it is, now's the time when we probably naturally don't think it's the time because it's crisis mode. I got to get myself inside feeling secure with myself, lack of anxiety, and, giving might create the anxiety. On the contrary, now's the time. By the giving shows our trust in God, our trust in God that through this, That's the inner reason why he's doing the outer will of creating this challenging times in order that we can rise to the occasion and truly give. Everybody according to what you're capable of giving. I'll put some links over here that if you want for Chabad.org, for and for other things. And but again, whatever it is, this will it's doing more than just fighting the virus, which of course that's what the Alter Rebbe is not even speaking about here, that because it does say that tzedakah tatzum imavos, that charity saves you from death, our sages say. But the Alter Rebbe is not, that's not the point over here. You know, there is that point, but the point in Tanya is that it is redeeming the world, it's redeeming me. The byproduct will be life, but it's redeeming me. Because the whole point of my being here is to redeem the animal soul and the body with its agenda of self-aggrandizement, its agenda of self-fulfillment, its agenda of being self-absorbed, and even wonderful, good ways. But here to be God-absorbed, but giving